This is part of a new series where I, Ryan Robertson, will be sitting down and watching Impact Wrestling's weekly television show, and I will be recapping it, reviewing it, analysing it, and all round discussing it. Now, I have went back a few weeks in Impact's canon to their last live event, Against All Odds. I am starting there, and I will work my way forward to I eventually catch up with where we are now. The purpose of the first couple of episodes will be for me to get a general sense of where Impact Wrestling is going ahead of its up-and-coming Slammiversary pay-per-view. So I hope you enjoy as I embark on this journey to see what's happening with Impact Wrestling, because I get the feeling that it's my favourite wrestling promotion in the world at the moment. So, enjoy. Bold, cheeky, flashy, gallus. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Gallus Podcast looks at Impact Wrestling and our weekly Impact Wrestling analysis show. I am your host for this week's edition, Ryan Robertson, and this is the last of the getting up to date with where Impact Wrestling currently is episodes. Now, this episode of Impact Wrestling was amazing. It is my favourite one that I have watched so far, better than Against All Odds as a pay-per-view, better than last week's, because unlike last week's, there is a lot of wrestling on this show. Speaking of last week's show, of course, it is now time for a little 60-second recap of last week's show, which I apologise in advance for if you haven't seen my recap of last week's episode. Don't you worry, there is a very short condensed version coming up around about now. So the show opened with a terribly convoluted promo, but a really nice one with the Motorcycle Machine Guns at the heart of it. Alex Shelley saying he ugly cried. Chris Sabin talking about dreams. Then people just kept interrupting and joining to build a 10-man mixed main event. The designers got a little promo, Angels and Tina continuing their little debacle. Moose and Rich Swann would have a very, very good match. ABC would beat Decay. Brian Myers and Moose would come face to face and kind of be like, we should go for those tag belts. Then Motorcycle Machine Guns and ABC would come face to face and they'd be like, respect. Oh, you had all sorts happening. And Bundy Guja was interrupted by Dango. Steve Maclin would join Bully Ray and Scott D'Amore, who announced his leave of absence as president, and Scott D'Amore and PCO will fight Bully Ray and Steve Maclin at Slammiversary. And, well, that's what's happened. That's pretty much what happened ahead of this week's show. Oh, you can hear that sweet noise of me moving paper. However, this show pretty much, after the recap, opened on OVE's entrance for a tag match, a 6-man tag match, a trios match, and I was like, yes, I like it. The crowd felt like excited. They were ready for OVE to come down to the ring and, well, put on a clinic, because, you know, they're great. Fulton, Crest, Sami Callihan, they're so over. They get down to the ring before the good hands enter. You've got Brian Myers chasing Hot Sean Skyler, and again they do their cheap heat promo. Seems like an easy win for OVE. OVE, they're all impressive. Every single one of them. Callahan is one of my favourites in the company. Fulton is becoming one of my favourites. He's so talented, and Jake Crest is just charismatic and over. Fulton would 1-on-3 and then 1-on-slam. All of them, the good hands would work over Jake Crest for a long time. Sami Callihan would hit a hot tag, and then OVE would go for an insane cutter, which would see insert Skyler or Hotch being pressed above the head of Fulton, and Jake Crest dive from the top rope nail a cutter when Moose would run down, shove Jake Crest off the top rope, leading to Myers hitting a lariat to Jake Crest for the win. What? The good hands win? So, like, big clothesline Brian Myers finisher pins Jake Crest, and just like that, OVE lose? Okay. Interesting. Kazarian and Eddie Edwards would have a little backstage promo ahead of the main event. Eddie Edwards swears on Kowalski's grave that Frankie Kazarian can trust him. However, Kazarian remains sceptical to trust Eddie Edwards because You would, wouldn't you? I'm loving this. I'm loving the dynamic between these two. I'm loving this little feud, this little team, all that jazz. Callahan would then take a backstage drop, he'd throw chairs about, he'd kick walls, he'd punch things. There's a lot on this show, a lot of little segments, and I really liked how fast-paced and all over the place it was. It's a fun, unique style for Impact that I kind of hope it keeps up with. You throw chairs all over the place when he bumps into Rich Swann, the man that teamed with him at Under Siege, and he was like, where were you? You could have had my back. Stop Moose from being there. And Rich was like, I just can't deal with Moose myself, so on and so forth. So, like, then Rich Swann is like, I'll have your back going forward, we'll have each other's backs, because they were like childhood mates or something. Is it going to be a 4-on-4 at Slammiversary with like the Good Hands and Moose versus OVE and Rich Swann? Because that explains Rich Swann and Moose's little thing last week. It explains Moose's thing this week. But how do you put the tag belts that Myers and Moose want? Maybe they go for them at some random point. Maybe they go for them in Australia, yeah. Oh wait, no they don't. No, they're not. Maybe they go for them on weekly TV on the build to Australia or post-Australia, but jeez. There are so many potential matchups for Slammiversary, and I do know that Impact loves their big multi-man tag matches. A 4-on-4 could be a selling point, but where does the design factor into that? Don't know. We would then get the entrance of Dirty Dango ahead of a match with Bunty Guja. After the little run-in last week, get a recap of that. The crowd chant Divas Reject at Dirty Dango, who looks like an absolute mega star. He looks like a main eventer. I love it. Put the man in the X division right now. He cuts a promo where he says, man, do I hate pro wrestling. What a good promo. What a good character this is. I'm so on board with Johnny Curtis Dirty Dango Fandango. Anyway, in about 2 minutes, Dirty Dango wins off an inverted DDT. Wrestling's easy, innit? Punjab Gujar ain't going to be a star, not when Dirty Dango's around. He then takes Punjab Gujar's phone and he cuts a promo on his phone. You know, recording it on what looked like Snapchat, recording the video where he's cutting a promo. I don't know. The announcers say that Dango is against Twitter wrestlers, and I love it. I love the character. When all of a sudden Santino's music plays, out comes Santino, and Santino and Dango would come face to face. They're having a bit of a feud. Like, okay, but Dirty Dango is a very serious heel character. Dirty Dango is a very serious heel character. Dirty Dango is a very serious heel character. Why are you throwing in the Italian Santino to feud with him? He's a comedy character. You know what? Maybe it'll work. I kind of think it works. I really like it. He hit the Cobra to Dango. The crowd loved it. Yeah, okay. This was a real high for me. You go from Dango and his insanely great character to what follows, which is a BTI recap. Why was the BTI recap so cool? We'll find out, won't we? Jody threat bet Nevaeh. Okay. They then hugged backstage, and Nevaeh came face to face with her old tag team partner, Havoc, air quotes. Nevaeh and Havoc used to be in the women's tag division, the Knockouts tag division I should say, before, well, Nevaeh left, but now she's back. And she meets Rosemary and Havoc, but it's not Rosemary and Havoc, oh no, because Space-Time Vortex, they went into the Undead Realm, of course, and they came out Courtney Rush, bow now, and Jessica, bow now, as they do like rock punk stuff, as they cut these really animated promos about how they were the former tag team champions, now not the former tag team champions, they're going to be former tag team champions, and Jessica has no memory of who this Nevaeh is, and Courtney Rush doesn't know who this Nevaeh is. They've only just met her for the first ever time because these are new freshborn baby catchers from the Undead Realm. And they do this thing where they cut a promo, where they turn away from Nevaeh, they look down and the camera looks up at them as if they're huddling, and it is the presentation of this bit made me laugh a lot, and I immediately fell in love with the death dogs of Courtney Rush and Jessica, as Nevaeh then decides to describe to them in grim detail how she is Havoc, she is Rosemary. They went into the Undead Realm, and Rosemary's like, you know our canon, you know our story, there's some paper moving for you. And then, oh god, the paper moving is quite a problem. One day I'm going to get a very condensed way of doing this. This is just the first kind of 3 episodes. I'm trialing the series. But eventually I'm going to have it so that doesn't happen. She, going to Rush, is like, maybe Nevaeh could help us with our origin story. And that sounds amazing. And it's coming very, very soon. I love it. I love it. There's then a Aussie tour promo, because of course there is. You then meet the third in a row of amazing angles. Johnny Swinger has his protege Zicky Dice, and Zicky Dice is taking a quiz to earn a referee position. He's been obviously the referee, the very charismatic referee's quizzing him on things like, if you have someone in the ropes, how long do they get? And of course Zicky Dice doesn't know, but Johnny Swinger is behind him, signalling with his hands the answers. He gets it right eventually and is awarded a referee shirt. He is now an official Impact referee, Zicky Dice. This storyline is going to be gold, with Zicky Dice just screwing over people he doesn't like and all that jazz. Johnny Swinger then is so excited, he celebrates. He says he now has a stooge in power. He's going to use it to become World Heavyweight Champion. I love this. There is so many goofy storylines happening in Impact Wrestling, like the Death Dogs, this weird referee storyline. And Dango's I hate wrestling, but I guess I'll wrestle character. All of it is so stupid, and I love it. And there's something coming up later on in the show that I love even more, I believe. Anyway, up next to Design Enter, Angels and Con with Tina to fight Jonathan Gresham and Speedball Mike Bailey. Fun tag match. Gresham and Bailey work really well together. They have some really good synced moves. There's an ad. The design work over Gresham during this advert. Gresham and Mike Bailey, as I said, have great teamwork. It's the part where Gresham has an amazing German catching, I believe, Dina from an assist from Speedball. You know, they just do good stuff. There's a good moonsault from Mike Bailey. But unfortunately, you know how this match is going. Angels accidentally hits Tina. There's a middle rope frog splash from Angels for a 2 count. Tina and Angels squabble. Mike Bailey hits his finishing combo to win. This match did its purpose very, very well. It gave Gresham and Bailey a nice win, because they're guys that need wins every now and again, especially after the losses in 8-4-1. And it did, well, I think it might be, maybe that's the angle for Slammiversary. Maybe it happens sooner, like Australia or something. Maybe Angels versus Tina is your Slammiversary plan, and Callahan, OVE, Swan, and the Good Hands with Moose is the plan. Maybe that's what they're doing. I kind of like that. As for ABC, Chris Bay and Ace Austin's opponents, if it's not the Good Hands, is Moose and Myers. Maybe it should be Gresham and Bailey, because that would be like a 10-star match. That'd be really, really, really good. That match would be so 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and it'd be your best tag match of the year. Of course, maybe they go down the bringing in someone from New Japan route. They could bring in like Catch 22, or even someone from AEW. Like, just maybe they decide to outsource like they did with Subculture for Under Siege, and they had a brilliant match. Maybe it'll be a big multi-man, like 14 match. Oh, Moose Myers, Sami Callihan, and Swan, Dina, and Angels versus ABC for the tag belts, and that kind of incorporates all of those storylines into one. It's interesting, but it's also not a storyline of their own for ABC, and they could probably do with their own big storyline. And I think Gresham and Bailey might be the way to go. There's then an Impact Plus flashback. Sure, the flashback of Magnus winning the World Championship. Okay, nice, love it. Bet Jeff Hardy. And then get a recap of Jay Vidal and Trinity's little feud, when Jay Vidal keeps intentionally hitting Trinity. Trinity is then interviewed. She then challenges Jay Vidal to a match for next week. Sure. There's then another Australia ad, and I am so rooting for Steve Maclin to take his world title back, because it's his title. What that means for the main event, I guess we get Maclin, Aldis, Shelley in a 3-way, or Maclin, Aldis in a singles match, and you also have Maclin in the tag match, because guy can do double duty, guy's talented. The next half of the show kicked off with Jimmy Jacobs, who is like Nick Aldis's interviewer, so we assume we're getting our Nick Aldis statement that was announced ahead of time. Jamie Jacobs then is handed a bit of paper and says this is Nick Aldis's statement, because Nick Aldis will refuse to show up here because he does not feel safe, and I love it. Immediately in with the good dirty heel work. Alex Shelley then storms in, interrupts, and is like, blah, 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 yup, wrestling, yup. It's announced that Nick Aldis will be there next week. Alex Shelley then leaves, and Jimmy Jacobs insults him behind his back, so Shelley super kicks him. Chris Sabin then walks in and is like, should just super kick him? And Alex Shelley goes, yup. This is your main event feud, why has it still got the comedy yup in it? I want a blood feud between Shelley and Aldis, and I think they're capable of it, and I think we're going to get one. To continue the things I love on this show, out comes the Coven, the women's tag team champions, and then Killer Kelly, because her entrance still scares me. The Coven's got a weird creepy gimmick, and this match is a battle between two women with gimmicks that are really interlinked, and I love it. Killing King attacks Killer Kelly. Ringside. My notes just say KK attacks KK, and I had to actually think about things. Taylor Wilde then works over Kelly, and it led to me thinking about how the Coven came to be, because last time I saw Taylor Wilde, she was like the big deal, the big woman that returned to beat Deonna, but I don't even think her and Deonna ever had that women's knockouts title match. Sure, Killer Kelly continues to prove that she's the best woman in the company with her amazing moveset of headbutts. She also has a really terrifying smile, the most terrifying smile in all of wrestling. Killer Kelly would roll up Taylor Wilde to beat her, because roll-ups, I guess, are the Impact way to protect stars, sure. After the match, Killer Kelly is attacked by the Coven. The crowd boo, but then the crowds begin to cheer for Masha. Masha. And then Masha Slamovich makes the save, holding the dog collar, lays out the Coven back off, and Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich have a wee face off. They exchange an amazing look, a look of maybe we'll unite to take those Knockouts tag titles. I'm here for it, but I'm also here for Killer Kelly taking the Knockouts main championship. I'm digging everything this week's done. I'm digging everything Impact are doing, pretty much, and this week has been the best. You then get a recap of last week when Scott D'Amore made the tag team match. He is then interviewed backstage and cuts a decent promo about beating both Bully and Steve Maclin. He talks about how they're both better than him in his prime and will always be better than him, but he has determination and all that jazz, and also he has a PCO, just like, I guess, the Hulk. When he leaves, the interviewer just stands and nods. I quite appreciate this Gia character. And then say his name and he appears. We believe in Joe Hendry. Out comes Joe Hendry. The commentary says it's a title defence. Joe Hendry is in action. I am from Scotland. Joe Hendry is from Scotland. We like each other, definitely. Joe Hendry comes in. He cuts a promo. It was such a good promo. He says something about the world being overtaken by aliens. But you know what? Those aliens will go away if we believe in Joe Hendry. What a weird promo. I was here for it because Scotland. His opponent is Yuya Uemura of New Japan on Excursion and Impact and America. I'm here for it. I love Yuya. I remember when I watched Impact a lot during lockdown, it was Yuya and Yota Tsuji that were the kind of two main young lions just fighting each other every single week on every pay-per-view. He was really talented. And so is Yota Tsuji. I mean, Yota Tsuji just returned and was in a world title program with Sonata. Yuya Uemura fighting for the digital media title, and Impact must be kind of jealous. Kenny King then comes out and joins commentary, which made me believe that the Slammiversary program for Joe Hendry's Digital Media Championship is going to be the amazing Kenny King, and I cannot wait for the promo battles between the two of them, because Joe Hendry is promo god. Kenny King is a promo god. Throw them together, you're going to get promo godness. Like goodness, but god. The match opens with Joe Hendry bowing to Yuya Uemura, because Japan, I guess. Uemura then attempts to bow Joe Hendry, and then it's the DDT because Joe Hendry's great. Kenny King was pretty good in commentary. Joe Hendry was in control for the entire match. Yuya Uemura proved he was great. There was some good chops. Joe Hendry catches a crossbody, with a one-handed spinebuster for the win. That's it. Very quick match. Joe Henry keeps his belt. Kenny King then takes his title, gives Joe Henry his title. The two kind of face off. Joe Henry holds his title high. I dig it. You then get some announcements for up-and-coming Impact projects, such as the Down Under Tour, which we'll see the Down Under Tour Night 1 will contain Joe Henry defending his Digital Media Championship against Eddie Edwards. That's a very weird one. Chris Sabin defending his X Division title against Frankie Kazarian. That's a really fun one. Because you've also got the Edwards and Kaz thing. Yeah. You get the Night 2 announcement. This one's the one that wins me over. The Motor City Machine Guns will challenge ABC for the tag team titles. Nice. As for next week, it's announced that Trinity will fight Jay Vidal. I cannot wait to see this whole Giselle stuff continuing. Also, Giselle's fighting Deonna at the Down Under Tour, and if Giselle wins, it will be her, Trinity, and Deonna in a three-way for the Knockouts title. Oh god. It's announced Nick Aldis will be in the building next week to answer any questions. And for the X Division title, Chris Sabin will defend against Trey Miguel. Good stuff. Contractual rematches and all that jazz, because it is main event time. And you know Mr. Main Event. Steve Maclin, Bully Ray, Kaz, and Edwards with Alicia. Eddie Edwards with Alicia. Steve Maclin is permanently pissed. That's his character. He just walks around angry now that he's not world champion, and I adore it. He will destroy everyone. Now, unfortunately for this absolutely amazing episode of Impact Wrestling, the main event is where it kind of falls off. It was fine, but it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen. It was just 10 minutes and completely serviceable. Was there any good stuff? Like, Kaz has some good leg drops. Bully Ray kept going for Alicia Edwards, which was weird. There was some good chops. Anytime Maclin was in the ring, it was really, really good. Bully Ray, the finish was quite good, actually. Bully Ray would grab Eddie Edwards and throw Eddie Edwards into Kazarian. Kazarian would then be like, oh no, did Edwards just hit me? And then Edwards would accidentally superkick Kaz. Steve Maclin and Bully Ray would hit a back suplex neck breaker to win, and the show just kind of ended. With Bully Ray and Steve Maclin getting a win ahead of their big tag match with the Moore and PCO. I like the Maclin and Bully pairing a lot. It should have the world title involved in it though. I like it a lot, actually. It's really fun. They left and Kaz and Eddie Edwards just lay in the ring together, like, okay. But you know what this did? It did further the Kaz and Edwards kind of, maybe we are going to swap, because Kaz could end up getting really angry at Edwards, attack Edwards for accidentally hitting him when Edwards was just trying to play fair. I think the double turn could be coming. I'm here for it. This episode of Impact Wrestling, as I said, was my favourite of the bunch that I've seen. So much good stuff. So many little nice bits. So many characters that I'm in love with. The Coven, Killer Kelly, Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice, Courtney Rush and Jessica Havoc, Joe, Henry, Dirty, Dango. All of these characters I've now fell in love with. All the little lower card little gimmicks. The digital media title scene. The women's tag knockouts tag title scene. Masha and Kelly got together. This was a brilliant show. And the future for Impact Wrestling is looking very bright, with next week having an X Division title match on it. Leo Rush confirmed to appear at the next set of tapings that occur very soon. You've got all the titles pretty much except for the Knockouts title so far announced to be on the line at the Down Under 12, the X Division Kaz match, the Digital Media Henry match with Edwards, the Motor City Machine Guns vs ABC, Maclin versus Shelley, the Knockouts World title. Impact Wrestling is in such a good place to be built to Slammiversary. Nick Aldis is a heel, Joe Henry is a face. I believe in Joe Henry. I have been Ryan Robertson. This has been the 3rd edition of my Impact Wrestling Weekly podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like it. I hope you share it. I hope you appreciate my voice is kind of dying. But please feel free to share this around if you're an Impact Wrestling fan. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Check out the link tree below if you want. That's where all my work is. All the other cohorts of the Gallus podcast work is also in there. So Don't know how to end these. Peace.